Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, September 5th. LA Galaxy off on international break. Joseph Paintsil off with Ghana. We're going to talk a little bit about him, update you on that. And then we're just going to wax poetically for a little bit. We know there's NFL football on. We know the Galaxy don't have a game this weekend. But we're going to get you talked up a little bit about what the Galaxy need to do, what they need to fix before they head to the playoffs. So we got a lot to get to, a lot of fun to talk about. And joining us tonight, we're glad to have her back, is Miss Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou. Sophie, how are you doing?
I am a little hot
Yes.
and sweaty, but I'm glad I don't live in the valley anymore.
It was warm today. It was warm for everybody. I know there were plenty of people. I know it was hotter for a lot of people. At my office, it was 101 today. I know it was plenty hotter in other places. I saw people posting about it. I also used to live in Arizona, so I'm firmly aware of how hot things can really get. But it's a little much today. It's a little much.
It's a little toasty even for the beach cities, I may add, but I'm not complaining. Apparently, it's not going to last long. But yeah, I'm good, and it's good to be back in COG land.
I was going to say, you got to be at the live show as well. We were so happy that you got to be there as well. I had so much fun. I don't know if you had a good time, but I had a blast.
I loved every minute of it, and the crowd were awesome. The fans are always just the best. It was great to hang out with you guys and see Panda sweat to make it there from San Diego. That's all in a suit, mind you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Is he wearing a suit right now as he's having
probably
his dinner? Probably.
Probably 100%. Well, no, it was funny. You mentioned dinner, but I was sitting here. I got home. My wife goes, "It's hot." First thing she says whenever walks in, I go, "Yeah, it's because I just got here because I like dad jokes the best of anybody else."
I love dad jokes.
Yeah, I know they're the best. And being I'm a dad too, it totally works. But with Jake right now, they still go right over his head, so we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I go, "Yeah, it's hot." And she goes, "I'm not gonna get in this kitchen and make anything." And she goes, "Unless you want to." And I'm like, "Absolutely not." And she goes, "So what would you like to order tonight?" And that got me thinking. What do you eat? Sophie, what's the go-to? When it's hot outside, my mom, for example, usually makes super chili whenever it's this hot. Nobody knows why. We're always like, did you have to make the hottest meal possible whenever it's the hottest out? And she says she doesn't think about it when it happens, but there has to be something there because it is a consistent thing. So that's one way to go. I, on the other hand, went a different route. We wanted something coldish or coolish, didn't want hot, right? So what is the go-to cold meal on a hot day, Soph?
So firstly, I never understand, or I've never seen it proven, that having soup or a hot cup of tea cools you down on a summer day.
I agree. That's bunk. I don't believe it. It's like they say go take a shower to cool down. No, you're not going to take a hot shower to cool down. You take a cold shower to cool down if you want to do that. But no. Okay, continue.
So if there's a listener who's a scientist, I would like to know about that. For me, it's got to be a nice Greek salad, tapping into the motherland. Although around 6 o'clock, I was saying to Tony, I am I can't eat. It's too hot. I don't
Right.
want to eat anything.
Right.
5 minutes later, I felt famished because I started talking about food.
Right.
So she's like, I'm confused. I just opened a yogurt. And I'm like, so you're just going to have a Greek yogurt? I said, I'm going to make a Caesar salad. So I made some Caesar salad, and I always have in the freezer, you know, those Impossible nuggets from
Yes.
Trader Joe's?
Yes.
Got to have those on deck. Late snack.
Shout out to Trader Joe's, by the way, little TJ's.
Yep. Yep. One of your biggest and most favorite listeners is an employee at Trader Joe's. I won't reveal his name.
No, we don't want. You're
No.
a big fan of you too. I mean, like I said, we do need to go down there together once and just.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We've
just,
gotta
just
do
for fun.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we live so far apart though; it would be so difficult, like 5 minutes apart. No,
So I like
yes.
to have that chicken because it's healthy. Supposedly, it's processed though. Really, let's be honest, isn't it? I mean, it's all processed.
It's all
Yeah.
it's all a balance here. We're trying, but
Yeah.
I understand it is. There's a balance. You want something. I went with poke. We got a little poke today.
Oh, good choice.
So I was like, because keep it cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
not as cold as I usually, but it's not hot. You're not going to get hot poke, right? So it's usually just room temperature from whoever car was riding on there, the whole deal. So that was what we went.
good choice.
I see already in the chat room ceviche shrimp cocktail. Right, that's good. I am not a big drinker anymore. I really don't, and it wasn't a conscious choice. It was just more like it takes a lot of effort to drink sometimes, and I'm just like, I just don't have that effort whenever I have a 4-year-old. I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks. But this is one of those times when a cold beer is nice to have with dinner.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a great beer, but just something crisp, clean, and cold. Really sort of helps.
And
there.
beer goes with a poke bowl. It goes with a little ceviche. Ceviche is a good shout, by the way.
Really good
We've been on a kick getting the stuff from Santa Monica Seafood.
Shout out to Santa Monica Seafood, by the way. Just absolutely epic. I'm pretty sure my parents went to dinner there tonight. I'm just
Really?
shocked. Oh yeah, 100%. That is.
Oh my God,
that's right in their
place.
wheelhouse.
They do a great ceviche. They do a great ahi tuna pokey. And so had a lot of that. Otherwise, that would have been a good shout for tonight. Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely.
One of the better pokes, Bear Flag Fish Company has a good poke.
Oh,
Bear Flag. If you're into the fish burrito, by the way, which some people are like, that sounds disgusting. And I'm here to tell you it's absolutely delicious. So you should try it. But Bear Flag is one of those. Somebody said drinking a Blue Moon beer. So Blue Moon, little orange
Too
in
heavy.
there. A little, but you put the orange in there. It lightens it up with the orange. It gives it that citrus flavor. You're now it's fresh and clean and refreshing. I don't hate it. I used to be there. Somebody said Dr. Pepper because obviously that's the right answer to almost anything. Can I tell you about my sad
With
Dr.
ice.
Pepper, my sad Dr. Pepper incident today?
yeah.
I went to Subway because I was at a gas station and they
Mm-hmm.
had Subway and I was hungry, so I got a Subway. It's not usually my preferred sandwich, but it'll do in a pinch, whatever. I went to go and I get the large drink because it's hot out. I want a large Dr. Pepper. And so you know how you hit the button on the soda machine and you're waiting for the goodness to come out and it's just all clear because there's no syrup. It's just clear. And then I'm like, well, that's not working. Well, how about the Coca-Cola Classic? Because everybody likes good Coca-Cola Classic, not new Coke. Coca-Cola Classic. Get that? It's flat. There's nothing there. So then I'm like, I guess Pepsi, right? Because I wanted a cola of some sort, root beer. It didn't have any caffeine. Needed it. Went over to Pepsi. It was also flat. It was not a good day. I was not excited about it.
That's really sad. That's
Yeah.
I actually think they should replace. They were talking about redoing the bathrooms when we had the event.
Yes, Tom Braun came on and told us that was the big breaking news for the podcast. By the way, the best round of applause for bathrooms I think I've ever heard. But it was awesome. Yes,
It was awesome, and so was Tom for bringing us shirts, which was very kind of him.
so awesome.
I love that. But I think they should replace the fountain drink pump thing in the media room.
Oh, that's a good one. We have two of them. We have two of them. There's the left one and the right one.
Yeah.
But there is no Dr. Pepper. I would like to point out. I would like it if there would be Dr. Pepper. That would be better.
Hello, Will. It's Josh here.
Oh man. Anyway.
Got the power.
Yeah. By the way, Brenda says that Coca-Cola is better than Pepsi, and to that, Brenda, I say, duh. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Is Pepsi okay? Is the real name of Pepsi? Can I have a Coke? Is Pepsi okay? I guess.
People still drink Pepsi.
On purpose. Did you? Okay, I was listening to another. We're going way sideways, mostly because it's an international break. So chill out. All right, everybody. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about Pepsi and how Pepsi's big in the Black community. And I was like, that's really interesting. And the reason was some of the marketing they did, Pepsi was like the first one to put like a black family in the Pepsi marketing. This was really interesting.
Cool.
So really cool. So that's why they're in that community. Pepsi's really big. I didn't know that, right? So that makes more sense like for why Pepsi is still has a really big foothold in it, because ultimately I think Pepsi is not my favorite. So I'm not even anywhere in that. But it's interesting how different places take hold of the sodas. If you, my buddy was from Georgia, and he would say you would have a Coke. He goes, let's go have a Coke. And you're like, okay, well, that means you're going to have a Coca-Cola Classic. No, a Coke is a soda. And so then you get to pick what kind of Coke are you going to have? Well, I'm going to have a Dr. Pepper, like that type of thing. Anyway. So.
Do you remember the anticipation back in the day for the new Pepsi commercial? Because I used to love how Coca-Cola didn't use celebrities.
Okay.
Right? And but the anticipation for a new Pepsi commercial was pretty huge back in the late 80s and the 90s. It was an event. They mastered that brilliantly. That doesn't happen anymore. Maybe they should.
Commercials kind of. I mean, you had remember the what's up? Like there used to be like general like cultural shifts based on commercials. My wife and I were just singing a song.
You did that very well.
Yeah, but what's that? What like that wasn't my answering machine message. What's that? What's that? What's that? So totally a thing. My wife and I were singing a song. I'll let you laugh this one out. My wife and I were singing a song and we're like, what is that from? And she's like, it had to have been a commercial for something. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but we were like, it was a commercial for something. But we look at that. My son, like he doesn't even, when we watch regular TV, very, very not often does this happen, right? There's commercials. He's like, what's that? I'm like, it's a commercial. He's like, oh man, they're selling toys. I'm like, yeah. I go, we used to watch those commercials in order to know what toys to buy and all that stuff. So.
Oh my God, the generational gap is just vast. Like the Grand Canyon sometimes. What's that? Like, actually, there was a relative of mine when I was on my last trip, didn't know what a cassette tape was. My mind was literally blown. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. It's crazy.
By the way, some of the chat room is already already in there. There's a class trend says this is the funniest start to a COG podcast. Need a soda talk hour with Josh. I didn't know there was this much history in soda, quite honestly. So anyway, let's talk about the LA Galaxy a little bit. Why not? It's a Corner of the Galaxy podcast. We can do that. But no, by the way, in the chat room, keep leaving me your like best on a cold day meals. Like I got it, ceviche, shrimp cocktail. Like it's a lot of fish, right? Usually, and I went fish tonight too. More on the, I guess, Hawaiian side of things.
I love fish.
Fish are amazing. Honestly.
The only hot thing I think you could cope with, a barbecue is about the most you could do on a hot day. But can you?
I don't want to be out there. I don't want to be out there cooking at the barbecue when it's this hot. Like
well, no, not you. Someone else would do it for you.
Just make somebody else do it. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson and Pepsi, right? That's a good one.
Yeah, Britney Spears.
Scott, by the way, comes up. I love McDonald's Coke. And do we know why McDonald's sodas in general? I will, if I am headed to the train club, which I do an awful lot of. There's a McDonald's on the way to the train club. We have we don't have free sodas. We pay for sodas, but they're like 50 cents. So I could get a 50-cent soda whenever I get there, or I could stop at McDonald's and get a Coca-Cola or a Dr. Pepper from McDonald's. Do we know why they taste better at McDonald's? I know the answer to this.
Do you want to hear? Okay, so
yes.
Here's the scoop.
Okay.
If you're going to have fries from McDonald's, okay, and anything that goes with it, you can't open a can of Coke or a Pepsi. It all goes together. It's like an orchestra of harmony. It's like the fries, wash it down with the Coke. It's an all-in-one experience. So you can't just open a can. So
there is actually not even a scientific way, but an engineering, and I can explain engineering wise why the soda tastes better at McDonald's. The soda lines and everything. So first of all, the bags of syrup that McDonald's does, they keep them cold. They're cold in a cold, like not a freezer, but a cooler, right? So it has it. Then they insulate their lines as well that go to the soda machines. So that way you're not losing any heat to the soda. So the soda syrup is cold when it mixes with the cold soda water, because that mixes in the nozzle, right? And that's why it tastes, they're not relying on the ice to keep it cold. It's coming in cold, and that's why it tastes better. And why doesn't everybody do that?
Where is the breaking news soundbite? This is huge. I did not know this process.
It's a whole McDonald's thing.
It's a whole.
It's built into every McDonald's is that this is how they treat it. That's why a nice cold Coca-Cola from McDonald's tastes better than if you go and get it from somewhere like Taco Bell Taco Bell's more Pepsi a lot of times anyway. But anyway, LA Galaxy. I just wanted to share that. Okay, good.
Have you seen real quick? Have you seen the hack from McDonald's with the fries, where if you put a bag, if you small, medium, they're the same size?
It doesn't matter. I'm always gonna order the large. It does not matter. I'm always gonna order. By the way, Feel the Berm also continues to say this: while most fast food restaurants have their Coca-Cola syrup delivered in the plastic bags, McDonald's has them in stainless steel cylinders as well, right? That helps with the cold transfer whenever you're getting in there as well. It keeps it colder. It deep cools it. Yes. All right. This is bigger news than the bathrooms being remodeled. We are 16 minutes into the podcast. Congratulations, everybody. Longest time we've ever gone without talking about the LA Galaxy. Let's get into it a little bit. So
good.
We're looking at the LA Galaxy. Just 6 games left. You saw the game against St. Louis, or at least you saw the highlights. I don't know. I didn't even ask you. It wasn't their best game. Certainly, I think when I look back on that game, I can go in there and say, hey, the LA Galaxy didn't play that bad, but it wasn't a good game by them. And if they're not playing well, they're not going to get results on the road like that. So it's certainly not a panic button for me. But there were some things that were highlighted there that I think you're worried if you're the LA Galaxy. And one is really getting the offense in the right position and getting Joseph Paintsil playing in the right position, getting the LA Galaxy moving forward as a team, and then limiting the stupid mistakes. And the Galaxy have to get a little bit lucky whenever as well with those mistakes, because you look at that. St. Louis had an expected goals of like 0.7. So again, it's not the be all end all, but when you look at it, it means they didn't have a lot of chances. They weren't really in that game that much, but the Galaxy gifted them 2 goals in that. So when you look at overall what you see from the Galaxy, what are the things that you think they need to fix in these last 6 games?
I thought that away game was about the worst game they've played this season. I can't think. I'm sure the chat will remind me of
Austin. Austin was worse.
Austin was bad.
Dallas wasn't great. So really the big wins that are the big losses that they've had were Dallas, Austin, Chicago. Chicago, they scored first and then allowed
Chicago
2 goals.
Was horrible.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
that was horrible.
Those and then the 2 losses to LAFC. Those are your 6.
So where St. Louis are in the league, this is why I asked Greg, was it an unforgivable performance?
Right.
And he did answer it he answered that question quite well. And he said, I would say, he goes, I don't quite understand what you mean by unforgivable, but if you're asking me if I'm frustrated, yes. And I said, that's fair, right? Mm-hmm. When the second half started the way it did, I thought it's going to be 3-1 here. This is going to be one of those games where it's first half LA Galaxy, second half LA Galaxy. And you're right. Eliminating the mistakes at this point in the season, you could tell Greg was exceptionally frustrated with the fact that you cannot gift teams opportunities at this point in the season. And that's why I asked him about it being unforgivable, and it's really weird because at our event, I was talking about McCarthy and how he's improved over the season. You almost trust him more or less, playing out the back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And it just kind of fell apart. And the thing that concerned me the most was the mental application to overcome the adversity in that match. And if you're an MLS Cup winning team or a playoff winning team, you need to be able to bounce back, especially on the road. So there's 3 things that concern me: the mistakes,
right,
the mentality to overcome the adversity,
that I like,
and then being on the road.
Is this
team going to be able to cope with that? I don't know if I'm off on the away thing, Josh.
They've been a decent road team. They've gotten more points than a lot of teams on the road. I mean, so we can look at home and away points so far. So they have 33 points at home, and they have 19 points on the road. Their road record is not the best, I don't believe, but it's also nowhere near the bottom last time I checked, right? So not bad for 19 points, and they have some other games where the whole problem I have, but by the way, they're a much better home team. And so you should lean into that, right? And you can see just, if we look at the road point or the home points compared to other years, I mean, right now they have 33 points at home. 2019, they had 34 points. I expect they're going to finish higher. All these other years are completed seasons, right? So I expect that they're going to finish higher than 2019. 2015 had 39 points. So that's 6 more points at home. I think that's a reasonable assumption that the Galaxy will get at least 6 points out of their remaining. Let's see. They have 3 home games, 3 away games. So I think 6 or 9 is more realistic of how many home games points they should get. That being said, one of those is against LAFC. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you give them 9 more points, then you're looking at 42. 42 home points would be more points than any LA Galaxy team has ever had at home. If the Galaxy win out the rest of their home games, which will be 9 points, they will have 42 home points, and 42 points is more than any LA Galaxy team has ever had. So they are better at home.
Pretty impressive.
They are much better at home. So to your point, maybe not so much the road part of it, but emphasizing the home part of it, right? They are successful at home, so make sure you're playing games at home so that way you don't have to go on the road and do things, right? So I don't know. To me, I think that makes sense. I can also go look at when they allow the first goal. And if you look at the majority of the times they've allowed the first goal, they've been away games. Right. So we can look and say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of their 10 times they've allowed the first goal. So 70% of the time has been on the road. OK, so whenever they do it. So whenever they allow that first goal, it's on the road. So they're getting behind on the road more. So, again, I think it goes to your point, which is it's not their strongest suit. So maybe make sure that you are playing as many home games as possible, because I always say this for cup competitions too, and the playoffs are very much like a cup competition, which is the more home games that you have, the better off you're going to be. The LA Galaxy in Leagues Cup, if they win their group and then have Seattle come to them, that's a different story, guaranteed 100%, than whenever the Galaxy go up and play in Seattle. So the teams that have more home games are going to do better. And
we've seen a good fair share of late goals, haven't we? At the Diggity this season,
yes.
At the Digs, this season. I think the other thing that's key, Josh, is it's really that time of season where you need your best players available to you. Stop with the tiki-taka, not tiki-taka, but
tiki-taki. Tiki-taki. You were close, yes.
Challenges and getting yourself into a pickle unnecessarily.
Yep.
And Paintsill did that. We
100%.
saw Ricky do it. And that was another thing. You asked the question to Greg, and he talked about that's something we're going to have to talk about behind closed doors. Can't be having that this time of the season.
Right. He's 100% right. The other thing is, though, I said I added Ricky in there because Ricky was suspended for the game in St. Louis for the yellow cards. And Greg said, well, Ricky got his yellow card because he was trying to stop a tackle. Yeah, but if I go back, I think that's he has 8 yellow cards, and I think 6 of them have been for dissent. Right.
Yes.
So the adding up of them is also causing it. I think the adversity point is really important, though. The adversity thing is something that I don't think we talk enough about. I think this team is fairly resilient whenever it comes to that. Fairly. Not great, not perfect, but fairly. I will say, however, that especially on the road, and again, I think this leans on your away and road stuff that we're talking about, especially on the road, they get real sensitive. And they need to stop. I mean, remember last year we talked about the team being very sensitive. We talked about them like they're like if something doesn't go their way, they're very much like, throwing their hands up, the whole deal. I still think they haven't realized they're one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. Their record says that. I don't have to even, that's not my opinion. They're one of the better teams in Major League Soccer this year, top 5 in Major League Soccer, which nobody had them being. I figured it would be top 4 in the Western Conference. They've far outplayed what I thought they were going to do this year. But looking at the Galaxy and that sensitivity, it feels like it's a leftover from last year where they get sensitive.
Is it sensitivity or petulance at times?
Maybe both. I don't know. I don't know how to parse it because obviously we're not down there. They feel aggrieved. You can tell, right? They get into these situations. They're like, we're feeling aggrieved. The referee's not listening to us. Greg is yelling. I'm going to be overly dramatic just to prove a point. But like, Greg is yelling at us. The referee doesn't like us. This guy keeps kicking me. What is going on? Right? Like that type of thing. And that's way over dramatic for what it actually is. And I don't actually believe the players are doing that. But you get the idea. It feels like it's piling on. Could this day get any worse? Oh, somebody has a case of the Mondays. I mean, this is what you get, and you sort of see them devolve into it whenever it happens. A little spiral, a little death spiral, and the turns get tighter and tighter and tighter as they get closer to the ground, and then eventually hit the ground and explode. And that's what happened in St. Louis. They imploded all over themselves.
Okay, so with that same token, do you think that there's a sense too that they've been playing with the chip on their shoulder this season, which
Yes.
I think has helped them? And there are times where that chip turns into that sensitivity and that petulance.
I think the chip on the shoulder, and it's always interesting because, I mean, how many times have we seen athletes play with chips on their shoulder and they just, that's just how, I mean, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is the guy who played with a chip on his shoulder even when he was one of the best players in the world, right? He was like, nobody thinks I'm good, nobody likes me, the whole day. And that's how he motivated himself, right? So I think that can be good. Sometimes I think it's displaced. I mean, just look at some of the ways, and certainly with Ricky, that he's going out into like on Twitter and into the press and like going after like guys because he thinks like, oh, well, you guys don't give us any respect and blah, 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 the whole thing. I think the thing with Sasha is sort of a game, but at the same time, with Sasha Kleshman, I think that's more of a game that they're playing. They knew each other. They were teammates, the whole deal. There's other times where his other interactions, I'm like, that's less of a game, and I can tell it's less of a game.
That's petulance.
That's what that feels like, right?
To me, it feels like that Ricky has a maturity issue, and I think that it can cost the team. And it's really weird because they won 4 games without him, but in that St. Louis game, if there was one player you could bring on,
you wanted him on there.
You wanted him. You wanted him in that game.
Yeah.
Gabriel Peck, to me, every now and again, he wants a decision to go for him. But I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Maybe.
I don't think he's petulant, whereas I think Ricky is much more in the petulant column,
right,
than someone like Gabriel Peck, whose determination is just, I think, cut from a different cloth. Is that unfair?
No, I don't think that's unfair. I also think that no matter how you slice it, no matter how you cut it, you want Ricky Puig on the field, right? So it doesn't really matter whether he's
100%,
whether it's immaturity, whether it is a chip on his shoulder, whatever it is, he is one of the magic makers, right? He's the guy who will frustrate you. If you're a fan, he'll make you pound the desk in frustration, and he's also the guy who makes you jump up out of your chair and scream and hug the person next to you that you've never seen before, right? So he is the magic maker, and with magic makers comes jubilance and frustration. And is jubilance an actual word, or did I make that up?
No, jubilance is a word. Yeah,
we're going with that. Can somebody check me just to make sure? Okay, it felt like I made it up whenever I said it.
It was jubilant, darling.
Well, jubilant.
The jubilance on their
the
faces.
Jubilance on their faces. Okay,
exuded.
Good. Okay, good. I'm glad we're there. But it is that he is that guy. He's gonna be he's the plus 10, minus 10 guy. He's like, oh, give me all you got. Please don't give me any more of the negativity. And so he sort of goes back and forth with that. But if you need a goal, which the Galaxy needed a goal, if you need somebody to do something, the Galaxy needed somebody to do something. I still think that the St. Louis game would have been tough for him to come in and have done something because St. Louis was very much crowding the middle of the field and asking the Galaxy to beat him on the outside. That being said, Ricky usually thrives in those situations where he has 4 guys collapsing on him and is able to thread passes through, break lines, and sort of create different spaces that end up on the outside and coming back to the inside. So one is, you should never, and this is not a criticism of Ricky, this is not a criticism of Ricky at all, but you should never count Ricky Puig out. He's absolutely one of the most dynamic players in Major League Soccer, and if the outside world hasn't caught on to that, I'll gladly say it. I'll trumpet it from the rooftops. Quite honestly, he should be in the MVP considerations with what he's able to do. You're talking about the most valuable player to the LA Galaxy. The most valuable player to the LA Galaxy, Ricky Puig, in my opinion. And I think they have some amazing, great guys. We could go all the way down the roster. Sophie. I could start with John Nelson, who's the second string left back, and I'm like, man, that guy is super important with everything they're doing right now. We could go like the B side, the deep cuts. You can start on the deep cuts when you're talking about MVP for the LA Galaxy, but ultimately you're getting to that pop hit on the front. It's the number 3 song, you know, after the first two sort of set it up. Number 3 song on the A side that's gonna like knock everybody's drawers off, and that's Ricky Pooch.
Okay, so I think he can win you a game in a moment, and he can also contribute to losing a game.
Oh yeah,
he is a crazy genius,
yep.
Right? And those are the types of players that are the most difficult to contain. So I will ask you this, and I'm curious to know what the chat think. Do you think Ricky has been more valuable this season than Gabriel Peck?
Interesting. I refuse to weigh in right now. Let's go to a super chat. We had a $5 super chat. This is from Jeff, and it is a question to you, Sophie, the most interesting person in the world. Sophie, which celebrity have you met or worked with before that's been a product spokesperson? Love the show as always. Thanks, Josh and COG crew. This is from Jeff.
Wow, what a great question. A product.
I always wanted to be a spokesperson for like Dr. Pepper. That would be great. Mostly just for free. They don't even have to pay me. Just give me Dr. Pepper. Really, it's that easy. You can think about
this is a good question. I have to think about this one.
Well, I mean, didn't like Sean Connery even do some commercials and stuff like that? Wasn't he?
He did a couple. I'm trying to think. Adam Sandler, I remember doing something. I'm gonna have to think about that because they've all done commercials. Either product spokesperson. Because a lot of the times when I was working with them, it was for the films, not necessarily the product they were pushing. Brad Pitt at the time was doing something in Japan. I can't remember if it was for coffee or something along those lines. So yeah, maybe that. But I'll have a deeper think about that. That's a great question.
Okay, that Japanese market is untapped. People don't realize how crazy that can be for U.S. celebrities and heading over there and doing commercials. That's great too. By the way, we should do like a COG show live from Japan. I'm in. Who's it? Yeah. We used to have some Japanese listeners. I know we do. Because of Maya and Miki playing on the team, that we picked up some Japanese players. Whenever Zlatan was on, we had people in Sweden telling us they could come stay with them, right? And we never did it. So I'm hoping maybe our Japanese listeners will be like, yeah, come do a live show at my house. You know, I don't care.
Mate, whatever. My brother just got from Japan, and he said it's the best country he's ever visited, and I'm really jealous.
I want to go. My wife is in on that one too. She's all about that. So, I think we're also going to have to do like South Korea too. She's a big BTS fan. So I imagine South Korea, a little Japan in there, sort of travel through in that area. So it would be fun. Mr. Provino, by the way, goes, Brad Pitt? Jeez. Like, you know, 'cause of course. Is he? I'm just going to ask a question that I would want to know from somebody who's met Brad Pitt, as I would imagine. People have asked me this question about David Beckham. Is he as beautiful in person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
I don't even bat for that team, but he is...
I don't bat for that team either, and I can tell you that he's a beautiful person.
I actually spilled a drink on him, and it was at an event for a Jason Statham movie, and they had all remained friends because of the movie Snatch. Mm-hmm. And I inadvertently spilled a drink on him, and he took it. We were just kind of walking, and someone bumped me, and I bumped this guy. And I looked up because I was doing something, and I looked up, and it was Brad Pitt. And I don't think I went, but you know, he's a very beautiful, and he's tall. He's tall, but
everybody's tall to you. Like you're this little tiny person.
This is other than Tom Cruise. I felt good about working with Tom Cruise. That was nice.
He had to stand on a step stool to talk to you. I like it. No, it would be so anyway. So back to the Galaxy. Whenever you look at this, right? The idea that I think they're okay with adversity. I really do. I think that they actually handle it pretty well. In this particular case, they didn't. But again, I made the comment. I know your dogs are out there. It's fine. I made the comment, Sophie, and you can tell me whether or not you agree with this. But I said MLS is not the EPL. So you can't expect MLS teams to go on the road across different time zones, especially with the weather as crazy it was, at an early body clock time, and people always give me crap because they're like, hey, you're making excuses for them. I'm not. I'm just telling you the realities of travel and Major League Soccer and everything that goes on it. And the travel is so much longer and so much harder that I expect these kinds of games every once in a while. If you go and look at the LA Galaxy's bad games, most of them have come on the road. Big surprise. Most of them have been in at least, 2 time zones away. Big surprise. Body clock, all that stuff happens. The Austin game that was so bad was another early body clock game. So one is the LA Galaxy are not morning people. Apparently, they need to play in the afternoon. So
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's the 12:30 kickoff game in the Premier League. Nobody likes that.
Okay.
The teams don't like it, and
Right.
the fans don't like it. And Arsenal tend not to play. It's really funny. Arsenal tend not to play too great after an international break.
Okay.
And they've improved the record, but they didn't. They went through a phase where that 12:30 kickoff was very unkind to us. So I don't think that it's a stretch for you to be saying that, especially when I'm just sitting here right now in my house. And of course, I'm not an elite athlete. I don't work out every day.
Yes.
But I'm sweating like swine.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it's like to play in that heat, having had to travel
Right.
in a short space of time, considering the time zone change as well.
Are you being arrested as well? You have the dogs barking and the sirens going. Are they coming after you? Is it time?
I think it's Ricky. I think Ricky's coming after me.
It could be.
He's going to add me to his list as well.
That's right. Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. This whole podcast is out of order. Tim, by the way, $2 super chat. Josh, are you still selling those COG hats? I need to get more. We gave them away, and I need to get some. By the way, the guys over at 12 Threads printed those for me as thanks for something I did for them, and they're awesome. I love them. I wear mine. I have it like it's a special hat. It's not an all the time hat. That's a I'm getting dressed up hat, which is hysterical because I don't know that I look very cool in it. Sophie, on the other hand, just like everything, looks very cool. The whole
This
deal.
is my trucker hat.
Oh no!
I love it.
The accent show. Anytime Sophie's on, Mr. Provino says, "But what time do they practice at?" Right, and very much we all know what time the Galaxy. Well, I know what time the Galaxy practice at 10 a.m. They practice in the morning. So why is it? Well, because practice ain't games. That's why we're talking about practice. Practice. You want to talk about practice? Practice. I love that. I said that once to my wife, and she had no idea what I was saying, and I had to show her the video. So I'm like, no, you need to watch. This is important because I'm going to make this. I go, and then I'm going to say playoffs. You want to talk about the playoffs? The playoffs.
I love that one.
Right, like the whole deal. So she knows.
You know which one you should show your wife is? Come at me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
I had to show her. What was the other one? Oh, they are who we thought they were.
They are.
That's
a great one.
All the great ones, as you can imagine.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, I think that this is a very exciting season, and I didn't have LA Galaxy up there with the potential of winning the conference. I was thinking this is the season where they qualify easily for the playoffs. No struggles, no last games. No, we've got to win this. Of course, LAFC now have the 3. Is it still 3 games in hand?
Apparently still 3, but it'll be 2 after this weekend. So we're going to see one of those. We'll be in there. And as people have rightly pointed out, LAFC with their quality and 3 games in hand, trying to make up 5 points. That's one of those you're sitting there going, which should be easy, but one of the things that can change that is El Trafico. We can talk about that here in a little bit, but that's the thing. So that's why. So we've talked about, where do the LA Galaxy finish in the Western Conference? Are they able to hold off LAFC? Does in your mind, does that hinge on what happens in El Trafico on September 14th?
Yeah, I think one of the most important wins for LA Galaxy this season was the RSL win on the road. And I know they had, was it the injury or the red card to...
It was an injury to Chicho Arango. Yep. It was an injury. He got...
The red card was
and Cáceres
into
went up.
Miami.
Yep.
Right?
The red card was was to Mark Delgado in that particular one. But the injury to Arango was Cáceres and him going up for a header early in the game. Remember? That was the one. Yep.
So, by the way, that Inter Miami game, should have won that. That was one of those infuriating games that you watch where you're like, how has this happened? Second, the RSL win on the road was huge. This game for me, I'm going to say it, and you may not like it, and
Bring
some
it.
of the Coggians may not like it either.
Oh, I like that. The
This
Coggians.
is a must-win game.
Why is it a must?
No.
Why is it a must-win game? Because I think you're correct, but there's a specific reason it's a must-win game for me.
So for me, the first is mental, right? You've got to, if you want to be a contender, you've got to at least win one of these games. You can't lose all the El Trafico games in a season. And you've got to make your mark on their turf as well. And the mental lift that this team will get, the belief, I think that there's a potential if they lose this game that they'll dip a little, and it's not the time in the season. So for me, that's why it's a must-win game.
So I agree with you. And I've also said that the most important one of the most important things that they can do in this game is scare LAFC a little bit, right? They need to be like, no, this isn't. You're not going to run over us. You're not going to sweep us. If we meet in the playoffs, we need you thinking that there's a chance that you could lose. And right now,
Bingo.
You're not. You're not. They're thinking, the LAFC is thinking, we come in here, we play our normal game, and we're going to beat the LA Galaxy. It's a clash of styles that doesn't fit well for the LA Galaxy, let's be honest. But they need to figure out a way to grind it out and win. They need to scare LAFC. But the bigger reason for me is even more important. You already talked about it, and I'll go back to it, is you beat LAFC, you give yourself a chance to finish above them in the Western Conference, and the home field is so important. And so not only, Sophie, if this works out the best way for the Galaxy, not only do they beat LAFC at home, then they finish first in the Western Conference, if it all plays out that way. Then eventually you imagine these two teams are going to meet in the Western Conference Finals. That's what the idea is, at least, right? Certainly. The two teams meet in the Western Conference Finals, and the Galaxy have home field advantage. LAFC is now thinking, we just went there and we lost towards the end of the season. Now we have to go there again, and we have to not lose. They're not thinking about winning. They're thinking about not losing. There's a doubt, and you need to plant that doubt in them, and you need to grow the belief that you are an MLS Cup winning team within the LA Galaxy. And that doesn't happen if you don't beat LAFC. So despite the fact that I say it's not mathematical, although there certainly is some mathematics to be played within it, because I think it gives them the best chance of finishing in the Western Conference. It's not mathematical. This is for the mental points. You need the mental points. You need the mental edge. It's important. So I absolutely agree with you. It is a must-win game, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. By the way, I will not be there, but it's going to be a great game. I'll be watching. I know. I'm visiting my oldest in Colorado, so I'm taking my youngest with me. It's my wife's birthday present, which is she said, "You two go on vacation and leave me alone." That was
Sure, fine.
That was perfect. So,
Family first
always. But I'll be watching for 100%. I'll be watching. So, but no, I agree with you. So it is a must-win game. Let's get to some of the news that we have around the LA Galaxy, being we've sort of been bouncing. Gabriel Peck voted as the August Player of the Month. I don't think that's a surprise. I think, although John Nelson was listed in here, Maya Yoshida was listed in there. I could have voted for some John Nelson because I love some Johnny Nelson, but in this particular case, I think Gabriel Peck was that player, and rightfully so. So that was some news. One of the things we wanted to tell you about as well, and Edgar over at the News Across the Galaxy, Edgar's so great at just keeping it. If you're not following him, please do. It's at NA_GS. Edgar's awesome. Anyway, he had that Joseph Paintsel did play today, came out in the 82nd minute today for Ghana in the AFCON qualifiers against Angola. And in the 3rd minute of added time, Angola scored the game winner, which was actually pretty shocking. So not great for Joseph Paintsel. I think everybody was hoping that he would get home, feel a little less homesick. I don't know if he is feeling homesick. It's just an assumption that some people have made, but that you're home, you get a little rejuvenated, you go play some good soccer with Ghana, you come back to the LA Galaxy, you miss El Trafico, so you're going to get a little bit of time off, and then you come back in, and you're ready to go. I don't know that was the result that you wanted if you're an LA Galaxy fan, but I also say that it didn't look like he got injured, so that's also a plus. So you take that.
Definitely. He needs to pick it up.
He does. He's absolutely under the gun, and I think he's played so many soccer games this year, and continuing from whenever he left Belgium, right? I mean, just continuous soccer for a very, very long time. I think that's really weighing on him. I think that's hurting him right now. Somebody pointed out that if you get Joseph Paintsel for a full preseason, if you get Gabriel Peck for a full preseason, remember Ricky Puig came in like in the middle of the year and we're like, wait till you get him for a full preseason. that always does so much for them. It just the way that your body naturally ramps up and is able to then rest in the off season and then recover and be ready for the regular season. So I am not, there's some people, I had some comments, they're like, Joseph Payne, they probably need to get rid of Joseph Paintsell. I am not on that camp at all. I think he has so much talent. I am excited to see what he's going to bring. I think he's exhausted. And you can try to tell me that doesn't matter all you want. It's not FIFA. Your sprint thing runs out, and the next game you start it back up, and there's like no repercussions from the game before. This is real life. There's repercussions for playing this many games, and I think he's just sort of on the end of it. Doesn't mean, by the way, I don't think he can have an excellent playoffs. I think that him coming alive could be the thing that lifts the LA Galaxy to the cup. That would be perfect. His
body language needs to change. It's not good.
Everything's just hard for him right now. You know how that is. Strikers are weird dudes. They're selfish. They are in their own head a lot. They're sensitive a lot. We talk about them not having a long memory, but I mean, tell me Zlatan doesn't have a long memory on stuff. He'll remember if he missed something, and then he'll remember about who aggrieved him from 30 years ago, and he's like, now's my chance for a return. So they remember everything. So strikers and just playing in those positions, they're mental positions. They are absolutely mental, difficult positions, by the way. Did get called out by Larry Morgan, not on Twitter, by the way. Larry Morgan, not on Twitter, tells me it's jubilation is really the word, and not jubilance. So jubilation. That's
a word too.
Chat room also said jubilance is not a word. So I'm gonna go with it for right now. It's okay. I made it up. It's fine. Sometimes in communicating, Sophie, it is simply about people understand what you're trying to say. Did anybody have trouble understanding what I was trying to say?
No,
you knew what I was saying?
They didn't.
There we go.
I was convinced it was a word.
So anyway, that's where we are sitting for the LA Galaxy. Now, I have some breaking news. I'm not going to do the little jingle, though, because it's too hot for me to go. Oh, you know what? I'll do it. Fine. I'll do it. I just never remember which one it is, and then I have to do it. We have LA Galaxy breaking news. Nothing major, nothing crazy. But it is some fun stuff, and certainly something that we pay attention to a lot here on Corner of the Galaxy, which is one of our favorite groups. AFJA had some breaking news, which is Central American Heritage Night is September 21st this year, with all tickets purchased going. You can purchase them at lagalaxy.com/AFJA, AFJA. And it's including a special LA Galaxy mug and donation going to AFJA's nonprofit efforts. So again, lagalaxy.com/AFJA for that September 21st game for Central American Heritage Night. They said after we'll have a special menu with pupusas at a purpose, standing with that night featuring new dishes, treats, and the G's face off against the Whitecaps. So that is some big
pupusas for Josh.
It's. I mean, it couldn't get any better for me. Steve is always speaking my language. Anyway, he said they're also going to be collecting new and gently used soccer gear alongside the official supporters group in Victoria Block and Lars tailgate pads next to Lot 13. So that is September 21st, Central American Heritage Night. Pupusas, tickets, lagalaxy.com/AFJA. Okay, AFJA. All right. So that's some of the fun news that we are.
Very good. Good one.
Jubilance is the name of a band piece by James Swearingen. So you see, we learn everything. We now know we've covered everything that we need to.
Tonight's show has been like a Greek meze. You've had the dips, you've had the meat, you've had the fish, the fruit's about to come, and so is the dessert. It's unreal.
Well,
what a show.
One is that is now literally 85 degrees in here, so I'm getting ready to wrap
this
show up.
That's why I've been sitting like this. This is why I've been sitting like this all night.
Roll the sleeves. I shouldn't have worn pants. That was the real problem here, Sophie. I should have just gone.
There's a reason you're up here.
I know. I should. We could do a soccer player. Little Alex Morgan, maybe in honor of the queen herself, Miss Alex Morgan.
Sun's out,
retiring.
guns out.
That's where That's what everybody needed to see on this podcast. I'll do this for the rest of the show. I have the worst farmer's tan, Sophie. It's not. Look at how tan this is. And look
it's from the trains.
It is. It is from the trains. 100%.
Yeah. Because you've got a great tan on your face and this part of your chest.
Yeah, especially up here where there's no hair, and then like here it's really white. Anyway, for those of you on the podcast not watching the video, I am pasty white. That's really what we're getting down to. No, Alex Morgan retiring, which I thought was, by the way, like such a great announcement to watch her do that, the video itself, and then to announce that she was also pregnant, which I think is like amazing. That's so much fun.
Yeah, I love that.
So, and
Did you see the video I posted today?
I don't know if I saw the video.
Of me interviewing her for the first time.
No, how long ago was that?
2011.
2011. It's been a while.
And I've got like the curliest, wildest hair, and Alex is literally a baby. And
Yes.
I warn her not to eat black pudding at the London Olympics. It's on my Twitter if you want to go see it.
As anybody should, quite honestly. No, that was great. Also, just that's an LA Galaxy tie-in, of course, because her husband is ex LA Galaxy player Servando Carrasco. So an ex MLS travelman, journeyman, vet out there as well. So no, awesome. Really cool. By the way, I was like, man, on Sunday, I should probably go down and get tickets for that. They sold so many tickets, so many fast, and it's gonna be so hot. I'm not going down there. So I'll watch it on TV.
If we wanted to go, I have an in.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't. I can't.
Yeah, okay,
I
fine.
can't.
Right.
I have a kid's birthday party to go to, so I'll be locked in.
Plus it's start of the NFL. But I mean, if I hadn't have seen her play or covered her, I would go.
Yes, I understand.
I've seen her lots of times, and I feel like, you know what? I can close the arc. I did that interview in 2011, and then the last time I interviewed her was in the mix zone. It was before Emma Hayes was hired, but she was still in the UK doing her job, and Alex came through with her little girl and had, you know, mom on the back, and I thought, how poignant is that to start off with her talking about all this excitement for her career, and then the way it ended with her holding her little girl and, you know, and telling her she was being silly, and the media were taking pictures of her and stuff.
That's awesome.
It was wonderful.
That's awesome. Well, a fun moment. Final thing we have on the LA Galaxy before we get out of here. Footy Headlines released that the LA Galaxy's 2025 away kit will be comprised of an interesting colorway. And this is all we know. We just know color. The color we're looking at here is Noble Ink. All right. Noble Ink is the name of it. If you were going to explain this, Sophie, I would say definitely a blue base, but a pink undertone of sorts, or a pink purplish undertone. Maybe even you would say like an indigo undertone in that. Speaking of somebody who once took, this is my claim to fame. Are you ready, Sophie? My wife and I both took a color test. Now she thinks she's the best at color and doing all this stuff, right? So we took a color test, and it was like, you have to figure out which color is lighter and which color is darker, and you had to click on them and do the whole thing. So we went through this, and she got her score, and I got one better, just one better.
Wow.
So I am now the color person in this family.
You're the color king.
This happened like 10 years ago. We still talk about it on a regular basis. But basically what Footy Headlines is saying in this is that the LA Galaxy, with this Noble Ink color, it's sort of like a dark navy is what they're calling it, but it's definitely got a pink undertone. Like you can see it in everything they're doing. They don't have the accent color, but it could be different shades of yellow, orange, and pink, symbolizing the colors of one of those nice beach sunsets that we're so accustomed to. So a sunset kit, perhaps, for the LA Galaxy's away kit. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm not sold yet. I want to be very clear. Not sold.
Oh, I'm sold. Miami are not the only team that can come up with like the cool colors and summer breeze. We're in Miami, such a great city. We got everything here. We got pretty colors. We got this, and this. No, I love this. Yeah. This is epic.
It very well could be. Again, I like the idea. You already got me sold on the idea. You want to talk about something we're known for in the world, in Los Angeles? Give me sunsets. Sunsets, yeah. I'm in. I'm 100%. I love a good sunset.
Hello, we have a whole boulevard named after it.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had to call that out to people.
Sunset Towers, Studios, it's important.
But anyway, so that was the last of the LA Galaxy news. Well, this is an off week, right? So Galaxy don't play this weekend. Monday night we will have another
showed
show.
up.
Yeah, we did, as we always do. Monday night we will have another show. Already have a special guest for that, so we'll be rocking and rolling on that. And then
special
Thursday,
guest when I'm not here. What's that about?
Well, the one special guest I was trying to do had a birthday that they had to attend to, so we didn't. Get that
fine.
person. So we allow it.
Everyone will enjoy that. Everyone will enjoy that.
So anyway, I'm excited about that. So Monday we'll have a show. Thursday we'll have a show. Thursday, of course, we'll be getting you ready for El Trafico. So hang in there. Enjoy the off weekend. Watch some MLS games. see what's going on. You're gonna want to watch LAFC play. I know you don't want to, but you should. So go watch that, see where the LA Galaxy are, because a win by LAFC basically means the LA Galaxy have a 2-point lead in the Western Conference, and then you get into a 6-point match or a 3-point swing, either direction, depending on what El Trafico is. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Miss Soph, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, just thanks for having me. It's been great to be back with the Cogians, and I feel like that sounds like a Star Wars kind of culty culture thing going on there. I'm enjoying the Cogians.
Yeah. They live on another planet. There's another planet. You go visit there. They're an enlightened people, obviously. Very big on sport.
Very love their sodas.
Yes,
and
100%.
their ceviche.
Yes, it makes sense to me. All right.
Thanks, mate.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? We'll get on out of here. Go for it.
At Highbury Squad and at Soccer Diva on the old X. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and enjoy your summer dinner, whatever that might be.
I agree, 100%. We appreciate it. If you're looking for me on Twitter X, it's at Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast. CornerTheGalaxy.com is where you can find all of our articles. None of those pictures will have my sleeves rolled up like they are now, however, so you're missing out if you're not watching on the YouTube. It's one of those moments for sure. Please head on over to all of our podcasts, whether that is Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, any of those places you can find us. We certainly appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself. Stay cool. Try to stay cool. We'll be back on Monday. For Miss Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.